Christine Solem is a great friend of the community, a farmer, and someone who has never been afraid to fight for the rights of individual citizens over the years on so many issues. Welcome back to the Schilling Show.
Thank you for having me, giving me the chance to say things.
All right. We have such a limited amount of time, and I want to just kind of kick it off with how this all began, just a brief recapitulation, and then we're going to find out where things are right now.
Okay, it started with the governor's executive order, who said back in, I guess it's May, it first came out, and I had been going, number one, I've been going to Whole Foods since before it was Whole Foods, since it was Fresh Fields.
Yes.
And I'm a steady customer there. When the governor's executive order first came out, there was a medical exemption on it. It still is. None of the language has changed. You do not have to carry documentation around. You don't have to say what the underlying conditions are.
This is an exemption to wearing a mask.
That's right.
Yes.
And I had been going into Whole Foods. Since then, was no problem. I say a medical exempt, and they offer a mask, and fine. Until December, and all of a sudden, it got nastier. And the manager said, you can't come in, and we argued about it. I like to argue. And I kept going in because I think it's my right. And I told them at one point, I said, you're breaking the law. You can't tell me not to come in. And they said things like, well, a restaurant, shirt and shoes, you know, you have to do that. I said, look, there's no law in Virginia on shirt and shoes. There is a law on mask, and there's an exemption to that law. So it went kind of like that. And I said, take it to court. I said, call the police. I said that on several occasions. I said, let's get it settled in court. That's how you get these things settled. You don't get into fights.
Right.
You take it to court. Well, they never did. They never did. Well, I wasn't going to take it because why take it? They may never take it. It might go away, as they say. And anyhow, then they decided to take it to court. 3 trespass charges, saying that I was trespassing. Well, you can't be charged with that if you believe you're there on good faith. So it was to go to trial on Thursday, this past Thursday. And 4:30 on the day before, my attorney called me in, and we were talking about there was a problem with going into the court without a mask on. I had to get a motion for that. To get that ruled on, we were going to court. 4:30, he gets an email from the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office saying that they had found 5 other infractions of the law.
How does that happen?
I'm sorry, 6
must
other
have been
infractions. Oh, yeah, they said that it had come to light. 1 more trespassing and 5 petty larceny charges. What they did, they said, well, you can shop in here, but you can't check out. So when I get to the counter, the people at the register wouldn't check me out. And I wanted the food. And I was mad. I was getting mad. So I put extra money down on the counter and walked out.
Money
with the food.
that was above and beyond what the cost of the food you were buying. Yes, with the margin.
And
yeah.
One time I put down $80. I'm not getting any standing room roast. I'm just simple food. And then I kept saying, call the police, call the police. So they're charging me. They're saying, and I say, what? You're extorting this money from me. I said, you're extorting because with fear, and they threatened me with shoplifting.
Yes.
So 5 charges on that.
Of shoplifting now.
Well, it's petty larceny.
Petty larceny.
I don't know if it's the same thing or not. Anyway,
Yeah.
when we went into the courthouse the next day to set the trial date and so on, the police said, well, you're not free to go. They're going to arrest you on the other charges. They put me in the paddy wagon.
Oh, good
They took me
grief.
down to the magistrate's office. I had to be fingerprinted again. I had to have a mugshot. I don't know why. I mean, do your fingerprints change in a month?
Did your mugshot change?
That's right. Maybe that did. Maybe I was scowling this time. Anyway, it was just unbelievable. My attorney was trying to figure out, they wouldn't let me in the court, but the attorney argued with the judge, and he had presented motions, and the judge did decide. I didn't know what the answer was. I was in the paddy wagon, but the judge said the date will be March 23rd, and it will be held outside.
This is purportedly
That's the
due to the mask
trial
issue.
on all 9 charges I have now, which means about 9 years in jail if I lose on
I was going to ask you what the math is.
Yes,
How about fines? Are there fines included with that as
and
well?
or $2,500 fine.
But is that the total $2,500?
No, that's for
that would
each
be
charge.
like each
First
one.
class misdemeanor on each one. Yeah, unbelievable. So I took it all in my. But you know, I will admit I had a knot of fear in my stomach when I was in. I thought, you know, they do this. This is totally unreasonable. What else can they do? But then I thought, well, shoot, Virginia has just gotten rid of the death penalty, so you know it won't be bad.
Well,
So
it's interesting
anyway.
because a lot of these prosecutors have said we're going to stop prosecuting crimes like this. If it's not above a certain threshold, we're not going to bother with it. And yet this one, which petty larceny, we're talking about a few dollars here and there that you actually paid for anyway. When they're charging you with petty larceny, I don't even know how they're saying that. Did they not take your money? Did they throw it in the trash,
That's
or did they give it back
what
to you?
happened to the money? What happened to the money?
And I'm sure there's got to be video of all of that.
Well, we've got a subpoena for that. If they have cameras up, and I have a witness that came in with me on 2 days, and she knows that I put money on the counter.
So that's going to be fascinating to see how they argue that and what they did with that money, and how they're going to play all of this.
It's just harassment. That's all it is. I mean, I am really ticked off at this. This is not fair. It's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they can get away with it, but it's not right. And it's not the policeman's fault. The policemen are all very nice. They have to do what Whole Foods states and what they want. And when they fill out a warrant, they've got to execute it, and that's what they did. But it was nothing more than harassment as far as I'm concerned, and trying to intimidate me. Now, I refuse to be intimidated, and I do not blame Whole Foods. I think that they should be flattered that I'm fighting that hard to still go into their store.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not mad at the managers, the ones that signed the summons. It's beyond that. It's somewhere the attorneys down in Texas or whoever is controlling the strings that's doing this stuff.
Mm-hmm. The Amazon people, maybe.
Undoubtedly, since they bought it at Whole Foods, as I understand. I didn't know that until a few days ago. But my argument is, if you don't like it that there's a medical exemption, if you think I'm really getting around it, that's not the argument. The issue is, if I in good faith came in there and they're charging me with trespassing, shoplifting, which is concocted. There's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, what you need to do is change the law. Go to the governor. He's a nice man.
Mm-hmm.
Get him to change the law. He doesn't think for himself. He worships at the throne of CDC, which is nothing short of a federal government agency, which is on the side of big business. I fought them with respect to raw milk sales on the farm. They're in the pocket of the pasteurized milk organization, industrial pasteurized milk, and also Big Pharma. That's where this is all coming down to. How much money do you think these people are making on these vaccines? The Daily Progress, February 3rd, has an article on Pfizer. They're expecting to make $15 billion this year in the vaccines. Now, you don't tell me this has nothing to do with money.
There's a money trail there. Tell us where we go from here, the next steps, and we've got just a couple minutes left to kind of wrap this up.
Okay, the trial on all 11 charges is to be March 23rd, and it's going to be outside. I have no idea where. It is in the Charlottesville General District Court. And there will be a lot of testimony, I guess. I don't know. I'm still talking to my attorney about this, but I know one thing. This is wrong. And they shouldn't be doing that to people. And that's why I'm here today. And I thank you so very much for having me so that people know.
Well, you're an inspiration to others. And I've been contacted, Christine Solem, by a number of people, including people from well outside the listening area who came across this story and are so grateful to you for standing up. I know this is who you are because you've been doing it for as long as I've known you. And I've known you for coming close to 20 years probably. But this is just something that you say this is an injustice, and I'm going to stand up against it because this shouldn't be the way things are. There's a lot of people who don't have the courage to do what you're doing, but they are wholly in your camp and fully behind you. And I hope that by you stepping out and us publicizing this situation, that other people will become emboldened. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And hopefully it helps. I don't know. I think it's a gene I have. I don't know. Maybe it's an aggressive gene.
That's a good one. I'm against cloning in most circumstances, but if we could isolate the gene, I would be in favor of it. Thank you, Christine Solem.
Thank you.